Hey guys, good morning and welcome back to Blu-Roy Movies. This morning I thought I'd try something just a little bit different on the channel. It's been pretty much rinse and repeat last few weeks, the weekly watches and pickups, which, not a bad thing, you guys seem to enjoy them, but I thought I'd change it up, try something different as I say. I've got a little stack of films beside me that I think are a little bit underrated, underappreciated. Not many folk talk about them. So if I could introduce them to a few of you and give you something different to watch, that might be a good thing. So I've got me early morning cup of tea, nice and strong. In fact, the tea bag stayed in the cup longer than Scotland. Sorry, James. Let's get cracking. First up, I've picked out Ben Wheatley's Sightseers, which is a brilliant English comedy starring, I can never remember that guy's name, Steve Oram, beg your pardon, and Alice Lowe. She's absolutely fantastic in everything she's in. I could have, if I had a copy, included Pre-Venger film about a pregnant mother, and her unborn baby is causing her to go on a killing spree. But in a similar vein, this one's a killing spree as well. These are boyfriend and girlfriend. They go on a camping holiday around England, which is another thing that really I gravitate towards. I love like camping films, seaside films, that sort of thing. So that pushes some buttons for me. And the two end up going on murderous exploits. Very dark comedy, which only the English seem to do. Really, really good fun. I'd recommend you grab a copy of that. Sightseers, absolutely brilliant. Ben Wheatley, such a great director. Next up, I've gone for Queen and Slim, starring Daniel Kaluuya and Jodie Turner-Smith. Again, these are boyfriend and girlfriend. They're a black boyfriend and girlfriend. And one day, they're pulled over for a motoring offence by a policeman, and it soon appears that the policeman is really a racist guy, and he's out to nail them. It descends into an argument, and in self-defence, Daniel Kaluuya's character gets the officer's gun and shoots him dead, and which turns into a man and a woman hunt. We've got to be politically correct in these days, God almighty, across America. And it's really tense, really good. Lovers on the Run film, which is another trope that I enjoy in films, and one that's highly enjoyable. And I've never heard anybody else talk about this apart from myself. Yeah, it's only out about 3 or 4 years ago. I think it's still in print, still readily available. Grab that. Does it end well? You'll have to watch it and find out, but really good stuff. Next one is a true story, a biopic. Do you say biopic or biopic? I'll never quite know on that one. This is The Keeper. This is starring David Cross, and it's the story of Bert Troutman, who was, during the Second World War, he was a prisoner of war in his country. After the war, he didn't go back to Germany. He took up professional football and became goalkeeper for Manchester City, much to a lot of upheaval and disgust, not only from opposing fans but his own fans, and he went through a really difficult time. I think if you're into your football, you'll know that he played in the FA Cup final and broke his neck and carried on playing with a broken neck. Not like the little liver players these days that are rolling around the floor holding their knee every time it's tapped. Yep, that's a really good biopic. I'm going to go with biopic that I think you'll enjoy. Another biopic and another British sporting film. Now, back in the day, many moons ago, I used to manage betting shops, and I've had always an interest in horse racing. Not that I bet on the horses or anything like that, but I look out for the big races and stuff like that. And this is the story, Champions, this film is called. John Hurt plays Bob Champion, a jockey who is diagnosed with cancer and is very, very ill with it. And it's his story of him making a comeback and riding the horse Old Aniti to 1981 Grand National victory, even though Old Aniti had at one time been written off as a crocked horse that would never run again. And it's a really heartwarming story of people and animal overcoming their differences and problems and going on to greatness. Now, John Hurt, you've seen in many, many things. Such a fantastic actor, and for me, this is one of his best roles. In the film, when he's at his most poorly with cancer and it looks like he might die, John Hurt does such a great job. You'd think that he was actually on death's door himself. Really, really fantastic. Really underrated. Absolutely marvellous film. One that I'd just recommend to anybody. Give that a watch. It's just bloody brilliant. Let's have a swig of my tea. Next up, a Tim Burton film. And I'm not a Tim Burton fan, but I really like this one. This stars Amy Adams and Christoph Waltz. This is about Amy Adams. She's an artist and she draws these paintings of little children, and they've got oversized eyes, hence the title. She gets married to Christoph Waltz character, who's also an artist, but not nearly as talented and not nearly as successful as Amy Adams. And he starts to pass off her work as his own. Yeah, really good drama film. Waltz in this is just a horrible character. It could almost be his Civvy Time Hans Lander character, because it's just as horrible and just as controlling as he was in that for me. Absolutely fantastic actor, isn't he? And Amy Adams is too. Yeah, that's a really good film. And again, one, don't hear people talking about it very often. Give that a watch. I think get it quite cheap on Blu-ray. Wonderful stuff. Ah, Donna James. Dropping stuff everywhere. And he's done it again. James, I'll keep that in just for you. And not for the fact that I'm crap at editing. Next up, Burt Lancaster, the swimmer. I'd never heard this until Indicator put it out a couple of years ago as a limited release. I watched it and absolutely fell in love with it. This is all about Burt Lancaster's character. He lives on this really salubrious upmarket housing area in the United States. Everybody's got a big garden. Everybody's got a pool in the garden. Living the dream. Burt lives at the top of the hill, and he decides to make his way home and go and have a swim in all his neighbours' pools on the way home. And as he's swimming in each of his neighbours' pools and having conversations with them, you realise that Bert's not quite what he thinks he is. And as he's going along, his life is disintegrating more and more with every swim. This limited edition, I think, is well out of print now, but I believe Indicator have now released the standard edition, so it's readily available. Give it a go. Wonderful stuff. And next up, this film blew me away when I watched it. The Incident, starring a young Martin Sheen. This is about two guys and they're like young delinquent guys, and they absolutely terrorise the occupants of a New York subway train. Absolutely two despicable characters, and it really gets under your skin, and you really start to feel for these poor people in this train with these guys, and you really start to loathe these two. Absolutely incredible stuff. Like I said, I've only seen it the once. I really need to watch it again. And I think I'll watch it again pretty soon, because just talking to you about it now is starting to bring it back and how much I love this film. Absolutely incredible. That's The Incident. I think it's quite well out of print now, so it's going to cost you a little bit if you want the Blu-ray, but there are other ways of watching films. Might be the one out of them all so far I recommend highly, because I can't say enough good things about that. Absolutely wonderful. Next up, I love my noir, as regular viewers of the channel will know. And Mildred Pierce is absolutely fantastic. This is starring Joan Crawford, and she is a divorcee, a businesswoman. She's got a cafe who's pulled herself up from real poverty to being a successful business owner. But her daughter, she's absolutely a despicable, horrible character, and she's a right bitch. Her name's Vader in it, and honestly, she's a horrible cow. And she does something, and I don't want to say really anymore, and it's looks at the thing about motherly love and how much Mildred Pierce will do to protect her daughter, even though she's this horrible bitch. Yeah, really great stuff. Add that one to your collection. It's a Criterion, well worth it. I had the DVD for years, and you might have seen recently that I got the Criterion edition. So I'm looking forward to watching that soon in high definition. Really wonderful stuff. And lastly, I'm going to go for another film noir. Another one I don't hear many people talking about. Too Late for Tears, starring Elizabeth Scott and Dan DeRaya. This is all about Elizabeth Scott and her husband. They're driving along one night and they stop and have a bit of an argument, and a car pulls up alongside them and bungs a suitcase of money, in a case of mistaken identity, into their car. Elizabeth Scott's all about keeping the money. Her husband wants to hand it in to the authorities. And then Dan DeRaya, who claims to have lost the money, turns up. And it all goes pear-shaped from there. Typical film noir tropes, infidelity and murder. And it's absolutely wonderful. Again, like a broken record with the rest of these films, would I absolutely recommend that everybody watches. Well, that's it. Just a few films that might give you food for thought, that you might want to give them a watch. Have you got any recommendations for me? Something that you think is a little bit of an undiscovered gem that I might like? I'm always on the lookout for things like that. Just tell me down below. I'd love to see what you guys think. Gonna keep all that dropping in for James. He'll like that. Give me a like if you've liked what I've done here today. Maybe think about subscribing if you want to hear more of my twaddle. Have a nice day. Don't get too hot in the sunshine because it's pretty toasty here in the UK at the moment. Have a nice day. Champion.